Hello guys, welcome back. So in this lecture, let's try to quickly understand about the bubble sort. So why is bubble sort required to learn? Because see guys, this is one of the basic algorithm which is taught in like every school, every coding school, right? Whenever you start learning coding, this is the first sorting algorithm which is taught to the students, right? And I would like to say it is not something like very revolutionary. After like learning about this algorithm, you're gonna change the world or something. But as I've already mentioned, in some cases, like it excels, right? It based upon the data sets. Like in some cases, it may not perform well, but in some cases, it may perform well. Okay, that is why it is also important to learn about this algorithm. Okay, so let's quickly see the definition, like what it is. Okay, so it is a sorting algorithm that works by repeatedly stepping through lists that need to be sorted. Okay, so it compares each pair of adjacent items and swaps them if they are in the wrong order. Fine. So this passing procedure is repeated until no swaps are required, indicating that a list is sorted. Okay. So bubble sort gets its name because smaller element bubble towards the top of the list. Okay, and don't worry, I'm going to explain all these things one by one, right? So you might think like I'm just reading it. Don't worry. Okay, so it is also referred to as sinking sort or comparison sort, right? And its complexity in worst case is O of n square, and complexity in best case is, it should be O of n, right? For already sorted list, right? So what happens is in bubble sort, so let's say you have an array of unsorted data. So we iterate through each element in the array, we see whether the number is smaller or larger, okay, and then we swap those elements, and then we keep on iterating the elements. Okay, so to understand this better, let's quickly move to the visual algo, or I think visual algo, right? So to understand this one better, and I think I've already introduced that one in the beginning of the sorting intro, right? Intro video. So let's quickly jump into that. Okay, so here is our unsorted array data, as you can say, right? So just keep an eye like what happens on each step. Okay, so see the arrays, the looping starts here. Okay, now we are seeing these two numbers. Okay, so 31 is smaller than 45, then nothing will happen. Okay, then we will move on to the next iteration. Okay, see now here 45 is also smaller than 50, so nothing will happen. We will move on to the next iteration. Okay, now here see 50 is greater than 22, right? So what will happen, these two values will get swapped at their places. See, okay, so these two values will get swapped, and that is the reason why we call it bubble sort, because in this case the smaller values get bubbles to the top of the array, right, or top of the data, we can say. So this value, if there is any smaller value, that will get bubbled up at the very top, okay, at the end. So let's see, now it will go into this iteration. Yeah, now it will go into this iteration, and then see 50 is still greater than 7, so these two values will swap their places. Okay, now again for this iteration 50 is still greater than 43, so it will swap their places, right? Now for this one as well, this one as well, this one as well, and then this one as well. Now we have the largest value at the end, right? So most of the guys like will explain you like the largest values get bubbled to the top. Okay, and some people will say like the smaller value will get bubbled to the top. See, at the end the smaller value will get bubbled at the starting of the array, and the largest value will get bubbled to the end of the array. Okay, so don't get confused in these two terms. Either you stick with smaller value is getting bubbled to the top, or the larger value which is getting bubbled to the end. Okay, so now what happens is our 50, which is the largest number amongst all these, is at the very end of the array. Okay, so right now we have one sorted element here. So now what will happen, we will again repeat the same process. Okay, we'll again start looping it. Okay, so now again we will see 31 is still smaller than 45, then nothing will happen. Here it will swap its places because 22 was smaller than 45, and then again swapping will happen. See, right, So now this way we have 48 as the sorted value. Right now we have two semantic values. That means we have two sorted values. So on every step, the size of the array will keep on decreasing. It is not like on every loop we are going to iterate through each element. It's not that, right? So whichever element is getting sorted, we are not going to loop, we are not going to access that in our iteration. Okay. So now in the next iteration, what will happen? We are going to consider this array only. Okay, these array elements only, right? We are not going to touch these ones. Okay, so let's play it again. Now 31, 22 was smaller, so it got swapped. Okay, see, right now this array have looped through this until this 45, right? It never touched this one. So that means whenever a number is getting sorted, the array size is keep on decreasing. Okay, so that is the important thing which you have to keep in mind, right? So now it will repeat the process until it gets sorted completely. So let me quickly play it and increase the speed a little bit faster because I don't want it to. Okay, wait. Yeah, see, right now this array is sorted, right? So this is how the bubble sort works. It checks two elements. If the element is greater or smaller, it swaps based on your condition. Like if you want the array in descending order, then the smaller element will get swapped to the end and the larger element will get bubble up. Okay, if you're sorting in the ascending order, then smaller element will get bubbled up at the top of the array, right? So this way we check two elements, we swap them, we move on. We check two elements, we swap them, we move on. Okay. So this is what like bubble sort in a nutshell. Okay. Now if you go back to your definition, then I hope you will understand it now. Right. It is a sorting algorithm that works by repeatedly stepping through lists that needs to be sorted. Okay. So it will step through the list which needs to be sorted. If there is any sorted element, we are not going to touch it. Right. Now, it compares each pair of adjacent elements and swaps them if they are in the wrong order. Okay, so it took two elements, it checked their orders. If it is incorrect, then it swapped, right? So the passing procedure is repeated until no swap is required, indicating that the list is sorted. So it will keep on repeating the same procedure until all the elements are sorted, right? So bubble sort gets its name because the smaller elements bubbles towards the top of the list. So as you can see, 7 was somewhere here in the middle and now it is at the very top. So that is why it is called bubble sort, because smaller elements get bubbled at the top, right? Or we can say larger element gets bubbled to the top. Okay. So you have to stick with just one term. Don't confuse yourself. Okay. We'll go with the smaller elements get bubbled up. Right. Now, it is also referred to as syncing sort or comparison sort. This is because we are syncing the smaller element at the very top, or we can say larger element at the very end of the array. Or why it is called comparison sort, because we are comparing two elements and then we are swapping their places, right? So this is what swapping bubbling sort is in the nutshell, right? So complexity is of n square in worst case. Like if we have totally unsorted array, then it will keep on repeating, then obviously it will go O of n square as in complexity. And if it is already sorted, then at least one iteration will happen, right? So in that case the complexity will be O of n. Okay, so let's now try to understand a little bit more in this small piece of array. Okay, so right now we have a totally unsorted array. So what will happen? We will check first two elements. Okay, I think it's zoomed enough, right guys? So if you want, you can take a screenshot of it, or I'll attach this in the description. Okay, so don't worry. So yeah, we have this unsorted array. Then what will happen in the next step? We are going to swap these two elements, 2 with the 4, right? So in case if you are checking in the ascending order, so let's say we are checking in ascending order only. Okay, so let me quickly add a comment here, right? So now what will happen? We are again gonna check in the next iteration for these two elements, and then we will see if we can swap something. So since these are in correct order, then we are not going to swap anything, right? Now what will happen? We are going to move into the next iteration and we will see if these two elements are in correct order or not. If they are not in correct order, then we are going to swap them. Okay, so 7 with 8, right? Now at the end we will check if these two are in correct order or not. If they are not, then we are not going to change anything. If they are not in the correct order, then we are going to swap them, otherwise we are not going to touch it. Okay, now it will keep on repeating the same process, but right now we are going to check with this array. Okay, second, in second process we are going to check with just this array, because we already have one element sorted at the end, right? Okay, and same with the third process, right? In third process we will have this array, and then in fourth process we will have this array, and then at the end we will have this array which will contain just one element. Okay, so this is how it basically the array gets shrink every process, right? Every process, in the sense, when one complete loop ends, then on the second loop it will not access the last element which is already sorted, right? So that was the thing. Okay, so this is all about like how we are sorting in the bubble sort, right? But have you noticed one thing, like we are swapping the elements? How we are going to achieve that? Okay, so let's quickly look into the swapping of the elements in this lecture, and then let's quickly implement, or we can solve a question of bubble sort in the next lecture. Okay, so let's quickly talk about swapping of the elements. Okay, so there are basically two ways we can solve it, in a ES5 way, or we can solve it in an ES6 way. Okay, so I'll show you in the Stack Overflow, like we have tons of solutions for this, so don't worry. Here all you have to do is you have to search for swap array elements in JavaScript, right? Swap array elements in JavaScript, and then you will get some solutions like this. Okay, see here we have some list y which is stored in B, and list the value of y is getting swapped with x, and then we are storing at position x of the list, we are storing some B, right? Now there is an ES6 way as well, as you can see. Okay, see most of the people are using like same approach. They are just adding their inputs, and then we have some swap function. We can create a swap function which will do something like this. Okay, so what we can do, we can actually pick any of this existing data, right? So let me quickly see which one will be more easy for me. Okay, so let's pick this one. So this is an ES6 way. It's not that much human readable, or it's obviously like we can at least read it, right? So what's the matter in that then? Okay, so what we can do, this is an ES6 syntax, right? So what we can do, we can simply create a function call swap, something like this, and then here we can pass our array, and then, and what was that? It was ARR only, right? So index 1, index 2, we can pass the index 1 and then index 2, right? And then what will happen, we simply have to paste this code. See, there is nothing magical in it, right? Now if I give you this particular array, okay, so let's see whether it works with the like whether this particular function works or not, right? So let me quickly go back here. Okay, so here is our function. Let me quickly swap, let me quickly call swap, and now what I will do, or let's quickly store it in some array, right? Let a equals to this particular array, right? So then you will understand like what is happening. So I'll call this function with a, and then what I want is index 1 and index 2. Okay, so 0 and 1 I want to swap, right? So let's see what happens. Okay, so this function got called, since we are returning nothing, so we won't see anything in the output. Now let's quickly access the a. See, now the index of these two elements got swapped. Earlier it was 2 and 4, now it is 4 and 2. Okay, so that means this swap method is working just fine. So what we can do, with the help of this, we can iterate to the array, we can write the logic of bubble sort, and then for swapping we can simply call this function with the indexes, right? So we have already implemented half of the, not half of the, at least like some part portion of the solution, right? So now let's see like the ES5 version of it quickly. ES5, and then I'll use the same function actually. Okay, so here what we can do, so for that const temp, here we have to use array at position index 1. Okay, so this is, I think you guys have already, you guys might have already practiced it somewhere, but if not, then no worries, we are going to practice it right now. Okay, now what will happen, array at position index 1, we are going to store the value of array at position, array at index 2, right? Now here at array at index 2, we are going to store temp, right? So what we have done, array at position 1, let's consider is at 0 and let's consider is at it as 1. Okay, so array at position 0, we have stored this value in some particular variable, because in this line we are updating that particular index value, right, with this one. Okay, so we have to store it somewhere, otherwise we will lose that value, right? So here what we are doing, we are storing it in some variable, that particular value in some variable, and then we are replacing that value with the new one. Okay, and then for that particular value, here we are again storing the value which we have stored in temp. And then now let's see old. Okay, let's just keep it swap old for now, okay, to see if it works or not. Okay, so let me quickly go back here again. Okay, so we have an array. Okay, let's see if it's like this only, right? So let's call that function again. Okay, so this time with swap old, right? Let's see how it goes. Okay, so it is not returning anything. I think I have not returned anything, and that is fine because we are going to swap the data in the object, right, or in the array. So now let's see what is the value of a right now. See, right now a is again 4 comma 2, right, because we have swapped the values, right? So that is how like we can make use of these functions to swap basically the values, right? And it is not something like which is very complicated. You can easily find this solution in the Stack Overflow, right? So it must be here somewhere. I think I have seen just now only while explaining you these things. So let me quickly, yeah, see what he have done is he have done the same thing as I did, right? So he have stored it in the variable and then it swapped the value, and then for the last index he have stored the old value. Okay, so if you want, I'll attach these two in the description as well, like this whole thing in the description. And then let's quickly jump into a question for bubble sort in the next lecture. This is it for today, so see you in the next one.